What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Washed Up. We are the Washed Up ones. Greg Wrubell is not washed up whatsoever, in no affiliation with that title. He's the voice of the Cougars. He's our favorite Canadian, and I have a Canadian relative, but he doesn't watch the show, so I will get away with that. But Greg, an absolute BYU legend. That's what I posted on Twitter when I reposted for this. We're grateful to have you. Thank you for being here.
You're way too kind. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
We've had a lot of memories over the years.
That's true.
A lot of memories together, and I just think you're one of the greatest to do what you do. It's like I love listening to you, and like I feel like sometimes it's hard to listen to like TV announcers and stuff, and you're just like you have great insight, everything. I love listening to you.
Well, that's very nice of you to say, TJ. I don't know. I'm just really blessed to get to do what I do, and not every broadcaster has the same path to wherever they end up. Mine's a little unique. We may get into that, but it's a dream job in a lot of ways, and to be able to call games for the school I attended and still have relationships with guys like yourself over time makes it all worthwhile. I love it.
Well, we weren't planning to go down this path, but because you brought it up, I kind of want to ask what is atypical about your path, and what inspired, I guess, the first step. Maybe it wasn't, hey, one day I'm going to be, the voice of something, or I'm going to go do this in athletics, but what was the first step, calculated or not, that got you to where you are today? And what did that path look like?
Well, I think my interest was stoked as a kid. My dad was the public address announcer for the Saskatoon Blades hockey team.
That's awesome.
In Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And so he would take me to the games that he would work. And he would have his little announcer booth in the press box over the ice. And he would do his announcing from that booth right next to the organist, because every good hockey arena back in Canada had a live organ they would play. So so I'd be in his booth next to the organ player, and I was in heaven. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world to be able to watch a hockey game with the bird's eye view. My dad would sit at his chair, and he'd have his microphone stand with the button he'd press to make it live, and he would talk to the crowd.
That's so
awesome.
And
that was when I first became kind of accustomed to the notion of the power of a microphone, was watching my dad talk to this arena full of hockey fans. And he wasn't a radio broadcaster or a TV broadcaster, but he had a great voice, and he was an announcer. He would announce to the people. And so that's when I first, again, got used to the idea of talking into a mic. And then you combine that with my love of sports and trivia and reading and performing, and you put it all together and you kind of come up with Sportscaster. Yeah. I would be in drama, I'd be in choir, I'd be in public speaking. I wasn't a great athlete. I loved playing sports, but I wasn't a great athlete, so I wasn't in a lot of team sports, but I was doing all the stuff around it. And just thought that might be a destination to pursue. And so, I gave myself opportunities to put myself in front of crowds and audiences, again, performing in the arts and those kinds of things. And then, so it made it less stressful to talk into a microphone when the time came. But that's all a precursor to coming to BYU and jumping into the comms program and the broadcast journalism program and getting a ton of hands-on experience in radio and TV here at the old KBYU. And then that turned into an internship at KSL Radio in Salt Lake City with Chris Tunis, a legend from back in the day. And of course, KSL had the BYU broadcast rights back then. And so they would carry the games, and their talent would work on the games. And I was chosen to be Paul James's sideline reporter on his radio crew. And that turned into the job I have now. Long story short, but the atypical part, to answer your question, is that I got my break, if you will, when Paul had a medical situation. He had a heart problem that put him basically out of commission for about a month and a half.
Yeah.
In the winter of 1996, and during that month and a half, I had to call a football game and a bunch of basketball games for him while he recovered, and that was how it kind of got thrown into it. So the atypical is that I really didn't have any experience. I was just tossed into it as a replacement for Paul James, of all people.
Yeah.
And that's how I got my feet wet. I'd say that the more typical path is you kind of build your way up. You get some high school games, and you maybe start at a smaller college, and then you work to a bigger college, maybe a pro team. You kind of go step by step, and I just kind of got plopped right into the BYU broadcast, having worked with Paul James and then having to fill in for him.
That's
awesome. Because I had that experience at the end of that year, 96, 97, Paul decided to just do one sport only, football. And so that opened up basketball. Well, because I'd had that half season or so of doing hoops, that made me a more natural choice to try and give it a go full time while Paul did football. And then after 4 years of that, when Paul quit football too, because I had those basketball seasons behind me now, I made a little more sense to maybe try football too. And so that's how it kind of happened. But if Paul James doesn't have that heart situation, I may not be guesting with you here tonight, because let's say he goes, to his retirement age and full health, and KSL puts out a nationwide search for the next guy. I would have had no reps. I might have wanted the job,
right.
But would I have gotten the job? There would have been a ton more guys with more experience than I would have had. Years of calling basketball games that came as a result of being an emergency fill-in. That kind of gave me the runway to maybe making a little more sense as Paul's replacement when he decided to retire. But that's the part you just can't predict. And so, that's how it is for some people.
Well, two things. First of all, we were telling you before we went live that you need to write a book. And I think that just solidified in my mind, just the whole way that you described that journey, starting with sitting next to the organist, like you painted such a perfect picture. And so we're on your wife's side. You have to write a book. I will read it. I think Cougar Nation would really appreciate it. Really quickly, you don't have to expound on this because I want to get to the real stuff. I know you'd be a killer trivia teammate. What trivia outside of BYU athletics, because that one's just too easy, what trivia would you actually absolutely crush at?
I do like Trivial Pursuit and really pretty like wide ranging stuff. Yeah. I'm a big music guy. I like music.
Yeah.
So band trivia, singer trivia, rock especially. I really do like a lot of music. And so that's kind of like maybe an area I might do well at. Entertainment, music. I'm probably less well versed in like the fine arts, literature, maybe not my strong suit, but popular culture, music, entertainment, that kind of stuff. I think I do well at. Sports trivia, I tend to hopefully do pretty well at. Geography, I'm okay. World events, I'm okay. Basic history, I'm okay.
You have the categories memorized, so I know you're doing trivia somewhere, man.
No, so I love that stuff, though. I really do. I do.
Awesome. I know there's nobody out there that can beat you in BYU trivia.
No,
I really there's not one person.
No, there are some super fans out there that could put me to shame. I'm sure, but I try and be good enough to be credible.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you talk about how football, basketball, soccer, all these sports that you call, like what would be like the single most vivid call you've ever made? One that like still gives you chills to this day. Is there one that comes to mind?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the one that resonated most with people early in my career was the Beck to Harleen game in 2006. Yep. That was the one where I first kind of experienced somebody, making that call the ringtone, for example, on there, like they would play it for me.
So crazy.
And so awesome. that was, and that's almost, I can't believe it's almost 20 years now, which is amazing to me. But Beck to Harleen kind of then and even up to now remains kind of one of those calls that pretty special. I think looking back, I would have done a few things differently on that call, but for what it was, I think it resonated with people in a good way, and just the whole setup, right? I mean, you're in Salt Lake, it's the last play of the game, the zero's on the clock, can you find the receiver, the draw, everything just made it a perfect play. Yeah. I'm not sure it was a perfect call, but it was a perfect play. And I was just kind of glad to be associated with it and be able to relive it's pretty cool. There have been other calls that brought me out of my seat and made my voice do all kinds of crazy things that I can't explain. But that's part of the experience too, is kind of losing control sometimes with the fans, because I know they're doing the same thing that I am.
Great.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask when talking about that moment in the box, like a play like that. Does it feel a little bit out of body? Like, do you go back and watch? Because obviously they have that great, camera right on you guys that it normally doesn't cut to, but every once in a while they show the fans kind of your reaction, Mark's reaction, and your co-host reaction, whatever, depending on the sport. But do you ever go back and you're like, man, I didn't even realize I said that, or that came out of my mouth? Like, is it kind of out of body or blackout experience?
I think there is a lot of that, because in the moment you're just focused on kind of checking X number of boxes to make sure you get the job done right. And then you go back and see how it all came together. And sometimes you don't even remember you said it a certain way or did a certain thing, and it comes out later that you did. That's part of it too. But it's less kind of losing your mind and more kind of being more so centrally focused on what you have to get done that some parts of your delivery, you're kind of doing it without thinking about it, which means maybe a good thing at this stage of your career, that you don't have to think too much about it.
Right.
And so I think that's an interesting observation. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like in some of those crazy moments, I'd like stand up, throw the headset off, like run around the room. Like you have to stay focused, because like those plays that you're talking about, like to Harleen, like that's like I would be losing my mind in there, and you gotta stay locked in.
Well, I thought it was so cool.
Just go silent.
Yeah, you had Mark Durant on, right, and you got to talk about the Houston shot.
Yeah.
Right. And again, that's a broadcaster's, kind of like a dream moment, right? And yeah, you do kind of lose control. You find yourself hugging the guy that just made the shot because of where you're positioned on the floor. Those are special moments. And I just got a smile on my face watching Mark and you guys talk about that again. Such a cool thing for him. And again, of all people who deserve a hug in that moment, Mark's the guy. Like, he is Mr. BYU basketball. He loves it so much. It's so much a part of his life and his family's life, that I was glad he got to have that moment. And we've had some great moments together too. I mean, the entire season of Jimmermania got crazier and crazier. We get to call the 52-point game and the half-court shot at Utah. There were so many great moments that year. But every time you get to an NCAA tournament, for example, those are special things Mark and I always cherish. There's so many great moments we've been able to tick off of our careers too. And I think back to even just 2001. Mark and I kind of came in on the ground floor on this thing. Mark and I first season together was the season after the 1-25. Wow. So Mark and I got to be with the team as they climbed back up. And so 5 years later, when they made it to the NCAA tournament, or 4 years later in 2001, that was kind of a culmination, a full circle moment of us kind of, seeing them go from down here to up here, and just making the NCAA tournament in 2001 was so special, just to climb all the way back. Things like that are as special as almost anything we've called together.
Kind of continuing on that front, obviously the trajectory is probably since then continued in the right direction. You have kind of an ebb and flow. You have ups and downs, good seasons, bad seasons. 2011 was another, highlight. This last season for basketball and football, this last season were highlights. Kind of continuing on that, man, you started this at the ground floor. Look where it is now, right? We ran into you at football practice a couple weeks ago, and there's so much hype around BYU athletics. What is it like to be in the middle of it? Does it feel like a perpetual Jimmermania? Like, tell us about, I don't know what it's like and why the buzz is what it is and why you think it's here to stay, if you do.
Yeah, well, part of it is the fact that BYU is now a player in the Big 12, right? That was kind of even before, the NIL thing opened up and the biggest names in recruiting circles began coming toward BYU. Just getting into the Big 12 was, I think the next step. The Cougs had already done so well over decades, really, but over the last number of years of kind of building up the reputation, becoming nationally relevant, staying nationally relevant, having a TV deal even during independence. They'd done all they could to put themselves in position for that launching pad that is the Big 12. So once they hit the Big 12, they were ready to go. That's a part of it. I think the Big 12 is a huge, block in this puzzle right here. They got there, but then they're ready to compete and win when they got there. And then when you add to that, the different guardrails that came off or down about how you can recruit talent and the kind of things you can offer them and the kind of resources now available to student athletes, the fact that BYU was able and committed to being competitive in that marketplace was another huge component. And so you add it all together and suddenly BYU is playing and winning, big time basketball and big time football games. And I don't want to, disregard the other programs that I work with and don't work with, like soccer and baseball and everything else. But those two drivers are now able to compete and operate at the highest levels with the biggest names in the game. And as much as BYU tried to do that historically, they were almost kind of capped at a certain point, for the kind of talent they could attract and the kind of visibility they could expect. Well, now they have, if not endless resources, certainly substantial resources to be competitive when it comes to attracting talent. And the visibility is certainly there at the power conference level. And yes, it's always got to be about fit and the integrity of your mission and your program and attracting these people to your school. But presuming you have the right fit and you have the right competitive abilities, why can't BYU now be among the biggest names in the game annually and moving forward? That's the question we want to answer, right? And we want to see answered. You talk about the buzz and what it's like. Well, we don't quite know yet because we haven't seen this thing fully get to flywheel mode yet, right? We haven't seen AJ play a game yet for BYU, for example. We haven't seen the new big three, if you will. And by the way, I love it when you guys, I love big threes when it comes to basketball. I love a trio of players. But like if you want to call it Richie and Rob and AJ, let's just say that's your, that trio you can kind of build on, right? I want to see how that comes together this year. So I think we're on the edge to see how this thing really does play out. And so, but you can already tell. I mean, BYU is getting, more advanced pub about this season. I mean, when does BYU appear to anybody's preseason top 10 ever? As you guys know, you guys were part of the grind just to get BYU ranked. It was just so hard to get into into that level of visibility. It was so hard to get. You had to grind so many games and weeks to get there. Well, this year BYU is probably going to start there, and might be there for a while, and that would be a new kind of season for BYU basketball for sure. Football is just on the outside looking in, and that's almost entirely because they lost their quarterback. Had Jake Retzlaff been back, BYU would have opened the year in both polls, I have no doubt. And it just might take them a few weeks to get in this year. I think they'll get there, though. That said, this is where BYU might find itself on a pretty regular basis now.
Which is so exciting for as a fan. It's like I always tell Eric this. I love having like high hopes as a fan. It's like what makes being a fan special. And BYU is primed in every way to be super successful right now. And it's super fun. Like I'm so excited for this first game in football. And I'm Eric and I are going to a few games on the road this year for basketball. It's a super fun time to be a fan. I'm curious to hear, you're talking about all these years at BYU, and we've gone through all these different conferences, independent, Mountain West, WCC, Big 12. Is there like an environment that you look back on and you're like, that environment was so fun, whether football or basketball, or is there one that you're like, I still want to get to this place and call a game here? I guess there's two questions there, but that's one and one that you still want to go to.
So first things first, there's no better environment for my money than the Marriott Center and LaVell Edwards Stadium for those two sports, right? So let's
that's right. It was a trick question, actually.
Let's begin by saying I love my home arena and my home stadium, and I brag about it incessantly because I think it's the best. I mean, you guys know, a lot of people have just gotten the vibe from a TV broadcast. No, the Marriott Center is a special place when it gets full and the team is good. It's unbelievable. I mean, some of the best nights of my life calling games have been in that building. I don't have to leave home to have a special experience. Amazing nights at the Marriott Center. And LaVell Edwards Stadium, I never want to take the scenery for granted. I'm reminded every week when I get to talk with the visiting broadcasters coming in who just sit next to me in the booth next to me and just they're kind of blown away at what they're looking at. Never want to take that for granted. It's a special place just visually. Then you combine to that the caliber of football, the teams you're bringing in, the way that place gets on a Friday or a Saturday night. So let's just start by saying BYU's home venues, no one holds a candle. But
well done.
When you leave town in football and get into SEC country, whether it's Tuscaloosa or it's Knoxville or it's Starkville, I could go on. I've been to a bunch of SEC stadiums. That's a different brand of football. That's a different kind of game day. Arkansas a couple of years ago. Every SEC experience I've had, I leave going, wow, they love their football. You know it, but then you see it and you feel it. And as cool as Provo is on game day, these places we go to It is the town. It is the county. It's almost the state. And those game days are really, really special. And I love the hospitality of it. I mean, as intense as they are, and I know that the SEC rivalries are different. I mean, I know there's a lot more hatred there than for a BYU that comes in out of nowhere, but they're so nice to you. They really are. The fans, the people that deal with the media, they want you to have a good time in their town, at their stadium. They want to beat you, but they want you to have a good time while you're there. I love that part of it. I think the Big 12 as a conference is a really hospitable league when it comes to BYU visiting venues. And already I've been impressed by what Big 12 football feels like on the road. And every place I've gone to so far, I've come away really impressed with. And so, gosh, I mentioned some SEC places. I don't think you could go wrong about Notre Dame. Notre Dame, done a few football games there. Every trip to that campus is special. That's a really unique place because of the way Notre Dame does their season tickets. There's almost like a new collection of fans every week in that building. And the people that come kind of make a pilgrimage to South Bend. They may get to one game in their life in that building. And this is the week they go. And so by the time you get there on Thursday, the campus is already humming, and it just feels like a special place to be, that it's something more than just a football game. Notre Dame's been special for me that way the many times I've gone there. Those are really, really neat experiences. Michigan was kind of cool because it is so big, and Neyland Stadium because it is so big. But Notre Dame's kind of special from a community standpoint and a pilgrimage standpoint. Rose Bowl is always amazing. Coliseum. Thankfully, I've been able to tick off a lot of the, you're
naming all the big ones. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't done Penn State yet. I'd like to get to Penn State at some point. That's one that comes to mind right now. And in basketball, Pauley is kind of like legendary. I'm glad I got a UCLA game in there at some point. Madison Square Garden games are always not really a college venue per se, but it is in a way. Games at MSG are pretty dang cool as well. You get into lots of NBA arenas, right? That's kind of the norm nowadays. So I've been into a bunch of those. I'd love to, and haven't been. Not as a fan, I've walked into Cameron Indoor and at Carolina as well. So I've been to Duke and UNC, but not for a game. I'd like to experience that. I think. I just run through. As oddly as it sounds, the pit was pretty crazy back in the day. When New Mexico had it going, and so the pit was always a fun place. I loved all the conference venues we got to go to in the Mountain West days, the old WAC days. WCC was what it was, right? The buildings are different. The kennel was pretty cool because it felt most like a regular arena. St. Mary's was interesting because it was always full, but it's full small, right? So it was a different, and I mean, it just, the walls right at the end line. It was weird vibes in some of the WCC gyms because they would end at the end line.
Great way to put it. Yeah, I was scared of like rolling my ankle or breaking my leg on a fast break, right?
So those were different venues. Kennel was always usually pretty good though because it's the Zags and it felt big time. But you almost can't go wrong in this business. Now that you're in the Big 12, the basketball venues, some are really good venues too in hoops. Mark and I have been together for so long. We have gone, we've called games in the WAC, in the Mountain West, in the WCC, and now in the Big 12. We've been able to be together for 4 different conferences. Wow. That means, rivalries with different groups, and you get to meet different broadcasters and get to different venues and fan bases. We've seen a lot of basketball in a lot of different places and manners over our time together. I think the BYU journey has been awesome for that reason. We've seen a lot of what college sports has to offer.
Yeah. That's a fantastic answer. And again, pre-show, we told you there's a million questions that I want to ask you and a million more since we started talking. So we're going to stay true to our promise of not keeping you on here too long so that we can bring you guys
are fine. But don't worry about it.
Our last question, and this, I don't know, maybe it won't be hard. Maybe it will. I feel like it'll be hard for you. Your Mount Rushmore of BYU athletics.
Oh man, alive.
So it was good. It was kind of hard. Yeah.
So you're limited to 4. It's 4 people, right?
Correct.
Well, I mean, Lavelle, right? So that's kind of a no-brainer.
Yep.
Gosh, this is terrible.
Yes, we got him. I don't say it's hard because you don't know the names. I say it's hard because
no, you can't limit it to 4, right? That's the hard thing.
There's too many, and you're PR trained. You don't want to.
No, yeah, you can leave somebody out, and gosh, dang it. I mean, Lavelle is BYU. That one becomes the automatic, I think. I don't know. I felt like Jimmer was like, he kind of became, again, when you get the word mania attached to your name.
Yeah.
That's pretty special. And it's Lavelle was here for decades. Jimmer was here for 4 years. But the impact he had in 4 years, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm partial to Jimmer.
Okay.
Man alive, guys, come on.
It's a great two. It's like that's probably, those two are on a lot of people's.
They are, and then then you start going to a BYU quarterback. Well, how can you take just one BYU quarterback
when you have Heisman,
so many,
NFL MVP, and then you have Well, that's your problem, Greg, not ours. How did we lose him?
Who's on yours?
Those two, and then I'd say probably Danny and Steve Young. Did we lose him?
Lost him.
I kick him out and bring him back. It's just us now. He just cut off his Wi-Fi.
Like, oh man, I'm out of here for this.
Well, until he comes back. If he comes back, who's in yours?
It's hard to argue with those.
With mine?
Yeah.
Nice. I would have guessed you wanted to argue. Oh,
here. At least, are we back?
Yes, we're back. I was joking that maybe you cut off your Wi-Fi because you didn't want to answer the question.
No, that was completely unintentional. I don't know what happened there. I'm sorry about that, guys. I think I was in the middle of kind of meandering about the fact there are so many BYU quarterbacks that it's tough to pick. Tough to pick just one.
And sorry to interrupt. Someone just commented, said I might put Tom Holmoe in there, and I don't disagree.
Tough to argue. Like what if you threw in a Heisman Trophy winner to represent all the BYU quarterbacks and Ty Detmer?
Okay.
And then you could throw in Tom, who kind of guided BYU through, all the trials of independence into power conference membership. You couldn't go wrong with that group of four, because you have a guy that was a player and an administrator, a big time football guy, a big time basketball guy, and the Hall of Fame coach. I certainly wouldn't argue if you went that direction. Yeah. It's just almost impossible to go to four. Sorry for the tech drop off there, guys. I'm glad we got back on that. But yeah, that's a hard one. I mean, I could pick 14 or 40 guys as easy as I could pick four. But there's no doubt that it's such a great and rich history that again, you almost can't go wrong. But that would be a pretty good cross section. But then you're, oh my gosh, I mean, think of the great women's coaches we have at BYU. Yeah, Jen Rockwood to Heather to Diljit. I mean. They've been doing it at such a high level for so long. You could have a whole separate category. You could have a women's Mount Rushmore. You could go Elaine Michaelis, Jen Rockwood, Heather Olmstead, and Diljit, for example, and you'd be in a good space.
Tina Gunn. Don't forget about Tina Gunn, baby.
And then you get to the player part of it, and you could do different Mount
a lot of legends
at BYU. No doubt.
Well, we just mostly want to see your brain explode just a tiny bit. We just want to see a small malfunction because you're so perfect on your broadcast. So that's all we got. Well, Greg, thank you so much for being here. We will 100% have you back if you will have us. We're so stoked to go into this season and have you. Of course, guiding it as the voice of the Cougars. Your coaches show starts next week, I believe, and so we're excited.
we have Coordinator's Corner next Monday, Kalani show next Tuesday, and then we're off and running for the next number of months as the season gets underway. I just got back from a road trip with the soccer team, hung out with them for a weekend on their opening road trip, and they're gonna have another great year. It's all happening, it's going, man, and things are out to really ramp up here. As we talk to you at football, that thing is, a week and a half away from getting going. And now with the Bear news, everyone's stoked up about that. And that's pretty exciting, right? I mean, I don't know if people really, I know you're trying to say goodbye to me here, but I don't know if people really realize how big a get Bear Bachmeier is at quarterback. When you realize that you lose a senior starting quarterback, what do you do? Your fallback gets to be Bear Bachmeier, like your emergency safety net quarterback is one of the best quarterbacks, that BYU's ever brought in. Really, you think about it. He was really sought after as a high schooler, and for BYU to have the chance to play with him is pretty remarkable. So I'm excited for the Bear Bachmeier era, if you will. and watch him, develop as a Division I Power 4 conference QB. That's going to be a fun story to follow as well. A lot of great things happening once the AJ train gets rolling, and that should be a lot of fun with the names they've got on the schedule this year. What a great combination of a senior like Richie, a freshman like AJ, the different guys they have in between from parts near and far. What a great year we've got in store. It's going to be a blast.
So fun.
Greg, you're the man. You're the man. We appreciate you, and we can't wait to listen to your voice.
No, I sure appreciate you guys too. I'm glad you guys got to play together for a year at BYU. And Eric, I know your career spanned a little longer time, pre and post mission, but those are really fond memories I have. Selfishly, I wish Eric could have had you at BYU a little longer than we did.
Yep.
You're so talented, and I miss seeing you, missed seeing you, and miss seeing you at BYU. Those were great days. And whenever you guys want to have me on, I'm going to say yes, of course, and just appreciate you so much.
Okay.
Greg, thank you so much.
Greg, you're the man. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys. Go Cougs.
Okay. See ya. Greg's the man.
What a legend.
So you agree with my Rushmore?
Yeah.
I liked his. I like this.
You have to there's so many variations of it. You can't really go wrong.
Well, you can.
You could
put you on it.
Oh my God.
That's too easy. It's too easy. No, I like what he did. He's smart. He's a smart guy.
He cut off halfway. Thought
yeah, right.
Came back on.
I don't know what happened. That was unintentional. Just kidding. He would never do that. But no, I think saying, hey, let's just have BYU quarterbacks in general have gotten BYU athletics on the map.
We should have him on next time and just have 30 minutes of just trivia. Just the craziest trivia. Everyone give us your craziest questions. He'd probably nail every single one.
How crazy are we talking? Because I want to be
has to be public knowledge.
In 2003, who was number 87 on the football team? Do you think he knows that? There's no way.
No, maybe not that. But
there's no way. He might, but he might.
I bet you could go down the line and say, what was our record in football in 2005?
Yeah. Or where is so-and-so from? Or, how many games did they start?
Yeah, there's probably some crazy questions that aren't fair. But for the most part, if it's a solid trivia question, I think he would nail it.
Yeah. Real quick before we wrap this up, we got to shout out some people, because if you notice our lovely office where we're broadcasting today, it's brought to you by Jace Medical. Go to Jace for your medical emergencies. Johnny Baird is a friend of ours, and we finished up doing a little practice with how many kids were there today? Nine sixth graders. TJ brought in the big guns today, aka me, to teach these guys, kind of get them steered in the right direction. You built a really solid foundation. I think I really kind of elevated it, and these kids are going to be off and running. If all 9 aren't in the NBA, I'd be surprised. After today,
I'd be surprised too.
It doesn't take long for me.
We worked on everything within 5 feet. You can't really go much farther,
There's no need when you're this dominant.
I guess so.
No, but shout out to Jace and to Johnny for letting us hop on here, and just shout out to Alex, because I got this hat today at Wooden Grill. I stole it actually from Wooden Grill's warehouse, and I'm glad I did, because it's an awesome hat. How great is Greg Wrubell? That guy, encyclopedia, but so kind and down to earth.
And what I said at the beginning, I genuinely do like listening to his voice. When
it's not even biased. Right?
Yeah, sometimes when you see a highlight video or something, and there's a terrible announcer on it, it ruins it. You have to hit mute. For him, I'm almost I want to hear his voice in it. Sometimes when I see something else, I'm I want to find the Greg Wrubell take.
I should have said this on air. Maybe we can just send this to him. But my fandom, because I grew up a BYU fan, right? Even when we lived in Massachusetts, if we were in Utah, we'd go to a football game, right. And then when we moved here, when I was 10 or 11, I'd go to games with my dad, and if I didn't, we'd listen to Greg, or my dad is going to hate this, but we're the kind of people that starts getting a little cold, or the game's getting a little bit out of our reach. We start heading home, but it's Greg's voice on the drive home. You know what I mean? So as a kid,
even if you leave after the game too,
or if you leave, it was, you leave early, you leave after the game, you listen during, like, instead of, I know tons of people that tell us like, oh, I turned down the ESPN announcer and I just turned on Greg and Mark, like, which is genius, because some of those guys are unbearable. But it's like that excitement in Greg's voice is like part of my childhood.
That's
it's
the same thing.
It's kind of crazy.
Like, it's nostalgic.
It's wild. It's wild. Like those calls, like not even just the Harleen touchdown, but just like when he got excited, it just felt like, oh yeah, it's BYU Cougar athletic season. So yeah, big fan. And I just think that's what's so cool about everything that BYU does is like, you just get the best of the best. Like Greg could be somewhere, right? Sure. Like he could be on ESPN
probably had a lot
or CBS or NBC, whatever. Like he could be at big networks. We know people that are and that have, and he's just as, if not more talented. And he's not. He's at BYU because he loves it. And I think that's so cool, right? Like you could go down the line of like our coaches and that's what he's saying is like really cool. Now it's like, now it's the athletes too, right? Like we're at the table, we can pay what they pay, if that's a big consideration for them, but like we have the resources, we're in the conference, we have the visibility, like, so we're going to get those guys too. So super, super cool. Really exciting. I know we're just on BYU's hype train right now because, we're about to start, but we're going to start talking football here.
Let's go.
Basketball players talking about football. Nothing more than people want than that. Yeah.
See what you got.
Yeah, I don't got much, but thank you guys.
Good pass, touchdown.
I'm like, that's 6 points. I know that much. Hey, we met Will Farron today.
We did, and
he's getting me pumped.
We kicked a field goal in front of him.
Kicked a field goal. Well, I kicked a field goal. You missed the field goal.
No. I made the first
one. No, he was gone.
But no, the first one I made.
I know. But then we did the tough one from the angle, and I made that one too.
And then we did an even tougher one, and I made.
And he wasn't there.
Okay, but I made 2 of 3, and you made 2 of 3 as well.
And 2 in front of Will Farron. And you made 1 in front.
My first one in front of Will, he was like,
"It's okay." He's like, "It's okay."
That guy can kick field goals.
No one's pressing you.
That guy can kick field goals.
No one's mad about it.
He knows. He knows I can kick field goals under pressure too.
TBD. All right. Well, thanks for being here. Next week, I think we have Xavion, Mr. Xavion X, as I've seen they call him. The super excited to have the freshman on here, talk some hoops. So make sure you're here. Thanks for being here this week, and we'll catch you next week.